This is Lamar Bunting with Ozark Outdoors. I've got some tips and tricks for you today. All right, what we got today is we'll be talking about the Ozark Pro Series 13-footer. Basically one of my picks for when I'm flipping at fish that are sitting real shallow in the water column that are real active and will chase a bait. I'm gonna show you how I rig this 13-foot rod up and basically, how I set it up and what I would do if I was chasing fish that are real active and floating high in the water column today. Basically what we've got a 12-pound fluorocarbon line. We've got some bobber stops. We've got a tungsten, is what that is, just a real small piece of tungsten. That's a 1/16. Then I've got a 1/32 ounce hair jig. That there would actually come from Slab Syndicate, is who actually tied that one there, so 1/32 from him. So basically what we do, at the end of your line, you take your bobber stops, just stick it through there, pull you one bobber stop off. So now you've got one bobber stopper on your line. You take your piece of tungsten, you put it on your line, like so. So now you have your bobber stop and your piece of tungsten on there. Then what we'll do after that, you come back to your bobber stops. Once again, take your bobber stop, take your line, get it up threaded through there. And what you do is you'll pull another bobber stop off on below your weight. So now you've got a bobber stopper, a piece of tungsten, and another bobber stop. And what I do is I'll just pull it down under the weight, like so. Now that I've got it on there, I'll take my bait. This is a 1/32 ounce hair jig. And how I tie my knot is I tie a loop knot. So I go through the eye of the jig, like so. So now I've got the jig on the line. And what I do is it's real simple. I take it and wrap it around my finger. Then I'll take my hook and I go right there on top of my nail, fingernail, right under the line. And you'll pull the jig around like that. And what happens is you get a loop in there. You got a loop in your line. And what I'll do is I'll take that jig, run it back through the loop again, like so. Now what you've done, you've got two loops in there. And what I'll do is I'll take it and wet it just a little bit, and what that does is that keeps the friction off of that line when you cinch it down. So I'll slowly pull those knots down right around the eye of that jig. And what that's doing is gonna let me get that knot real small, so it's not a really big old loop knot to where to get hung. Now you can see how tight that knot is to that eye of the jig. Now what you do is as you pull it, that knot will shrink up. And just take it and just get that knot cinched up. And now what you've got is, you've got a loop knot on that jig like that. And what I do is, I'll take that tag line, take my pair of fingernail clippers, and I'll take those fingernail clippers, I'll just clip that line off there short. And that'll be your full setup. So you've got a bobber stop, a 1/16 ounce piece of tungsten, another little rubber bobber stop, and then a 1/32 ounce jig. And basically what I do with that is when those fish are sitting 3, 4, 5 foot deep in the water, that little old real light setup will let me take this 13-foot rod. And when those fish are sitting 4, 5, 6 foot deep, you can just flip that little old light weight out there. And as it hits the water, it'll sink real slow and let them fish come up under it and give you a chance to catch them, and they'll bite it. That's when they're sitting real high and they are aggressive and they're definitely chasing a bait. That's how I like to rig my setup up.